This demonstration we're going to have a look at the different security settings in Windows 7 Local Group Policy Editor. So what we're going to do is we've already come into our Group Policy Editor. If I come to Windows Settings on the computer configuration, one of the options I have here is Security Settings. And under Security Settings we'll start with the first one. The first one is my account policies. So if we have a look at the password policy, what we can see here is in the case of this machine here, it's going to remember the last 24 passwords I've used and that will retain that as a history. We're going to say that the user must change the password every 42 days. They can't change the password for a minimum of 1 day. We have to have 7 characters and it must be complex. Now in the case of complex passwords, that means uppercase, lowercase, alphanumerics or numbers, and we must have 3 of the 4. Storing the passwords by using reversible encryption is disabled, which is great. I would normally use this with digest authentication on maybe an IIS server. If we look at the account lockout policy, we don't have this set as of yet, so let's just modify this. And what we'll say here is if we come to the explanation here, we can see we have the account lockout duration. So this is how long the user will be locked out for in the case of putting in incorrect passwords. So we'll come to our account lockout threshold, and what we'll do here, if we have a look at this, so the account will not log out, but we could specify how many invalid logon attempts. We've also got to reset the account lockout counter after so many minutes as well, so we could specify this. Now if we set the account lockout duration to 0, that means the user is locked out until we as the administrator decide to unlock that account. Right, if we look at local policies, under local policies we have our audit policy, so what we can do here is we can specify what's actually written in the security log on this local machine. User rights assignment, we can see quite a few things here. This is really where users get their permissions from in the case of doing something to the operating system. So for example, if I scroll down here, if we have a look at shut down the system, what we can see here is administrators, backup operators and users have the ability to shut down this Windows 7 operating system. Under security options, we can specify exactly how the machine behaves. So for example, in the case of domain member, digit encrypt or sign secure channel always. If we have a look as well, if the domain control is not available, we'll cache 10 logons. So we have the ability to affect these security options as well on the machine. And as you can see, there's quite a few settings. So I'm not going to go over every one by one. I would encourage you to read up about these security options. The Windows firewall with advanced security. So what we have here is we have the ability to specify how the firewall behaves on the network ports. We've got a domain profile, so if we're added to an Active Directory domain. Private profile, for example, what we're doing here is we're sitting on our home network, and a public profile. Maybe this is a Windows 7 laptop and I'm sitting in an internet cafe. We've got the network list manager policies as well, so we can specify what to do depending on the type of network is defined when we connect our machine to a network. We've got how do we actually modify and issue our public key policies, so our certificates. We've got software restriction policies. Now this is really a Windows XP thing, and these have been replaced by app locker policies, which are application control policies. But this is who can run what software, are we allowed to run it, are we not allowed to run it. Now that's the same with the application control policy as well. IP security settings, so IPsec, so we can set up an IPsec policy to actually secure network communications between my machine and another machine. We've got our advanced audit policy configuration as well, so we can set up granular audit policies depending on users, for example, and we've got our policy-based quality of service. So what we could do here is create a little policy, and this would be based off quality of service, based off something running on my system. And that's the end of this very, very quick demonstration and overview of the Windows security settings. Like I said, I do encourage that you read up on these things. Thanks very much.